Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting, February 1st, 2022. And certainly we welcome all of our residents who are chiming in online. I will now call the meeting to order, and the agenda is there before you. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
I would like to.
Yeah, I'll do
Sorry,
that.
I would like to add communications to the agenda.
Okay, the communications report will be added to the agenda. Thank you. Can I have a second of that motion, please?
Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, the minutes from January the 11th. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, if not, the table will adopt them as presented. Business arising. Okay, if there's no business arising, we will move on to the mayor's update. I have a few points here for public interest. First one, our letter requesting a meeting with the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure regarding the roads plan and other infrastructure issues has been sent out, and I will be pursuing this to ensure this happens in a timely manner. The roads on Route 16, various parts of the town, particularly the south side and North Arm, have reached a point where they are patched to death. And due to changing climate patterns, they don't last very long. So it's clearly obvious that the only permanent solution is a proper paving job. We also have significant draining and culvert issues, especially on the big hill just past Sander Line intersection, which we're all quite aware. And I recognize that there are major infrastructure issues all across the province, and the Department of Transportation are doing their best with the budget and the resources that they have available. So my comments are not meant in any way to be to criticize, but the time has come for the government to inject the necessary funding into infrastructure so they don't need to be constantly applying band-aid repairs and quick fixes to the major problems. So my advice is that they concentrate on permanent solutions which will prove to be more effective and efficient in the long term. On another item, as we're all aware, the Royal Bank here in Holyrood was closed a few weeks ago and has since reopened, thankfully. The branch manager has reached out to us explaining the situation, and he did clarify that the closure was not because of staff taking annual leave, but rather due to an internal matter. So therefore, it wouldn't be appropriate for me, of course, to elaborate any further and speak on their behalf. What I can say is that the manager advised us that customer service has resumed 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9:30 to 5 p.m. And they plan to resume 5-day-a-week service by March 1st. If there's any updates, they will inform the town so we can post it on our website and Facebook page. So we thank him for reaching out to the town with that explanation. Another item here, the town has received several reports of street lights out, which the Director of Public Works is documenting and has passed along to Newfoundland Power. Residents are reminded that you can report streetlight outages on our town app. When reporting an outage, please make sure you include the number on the light, and Newfoundland Power can then identify the location fairly quickly. And last but not least, on a bit of a lighter note, but equally important, many of us are aware that there has been significant number of ducks congregating on the south side of the marina for quite some time. In fact, I had to stop my vehicle the other day for a few minutes to let them cross the road as they headed toward a nearby residence. I would estimate there was at least 200 of these cute little creatures, at least 200. Our Director of Public Works has been in touch with the Canadian Wildlife Services to get some advice on what we should or should not do in dealing with such a large number of birds, as they are starting to become domesticated. While intentions are good with people feeding the ducks, it is not a recommended practice of feeding them human food such as bread. It affects their digestive system and can actually make them sick. They are wild birds and are normally used to eating food from their natural environment. Also, as a word of caution to the public, we are not sure if the H5N1 bird virus has infected any of them up to this point. While this virus doesn't normally infect humans, they have some cases where it has. So our advice is that everyone is more than welcome to visit the area to enjoy watching them and taking some pictures, but please refrain from feeding or touching them. The Wildlife Service said that by removing the human food source, they should eventually return to their natural habitat. So, as I said the other day, jokingly in the meeting, it's not gone to the dogs, she's gone to the duck spot. Anyway, I had a few other points, but they will be referred to the respective committees. So that's all of my points. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mayor Gubby.
Yes, ma'am.
We have major work started on Holyrood Hill here today. Highways are at work.
Oh, good stuff. I did receive a picture from a resident identifying a backhoe in front of the residence, so that's a good start.
Well, they got the culverts replaced in 2 driveways.
Well, that's excellent. Really good.
So I think that's going to take care.
Yeah, we, myself and Councillor Windsor, and I'm sure he will speak to that in great length throughout the meeting, but we went around the other day in the height of this, and I stopped up there in front of your place and the house next door, and yeah, that was a big safety issue because there was a lot of water where that culvert was blocked, and if anybody had to go down or if a vehicle had to veer over to the side of the road, we could have been dealing with a serious situation. So good news to hear that the Department of Transportation are on that today.
Yeah, they're doing a great job out there.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the mayor's update? Okay. If not, we'll move on to correspondence. There is one. There's a proclamation for Heritage Week, and I will refer that to Councillor Bruce King, and he will address that later in the meeting. So now we will move on to planning and development. So who's going to take the lead on that one? Deputy Mayor or Councillor Windsor?
Oh, it's me, Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Okay.
The Planning and Development Committee, we met virtually on January the 19th. All committee members were in attendance, the Mayor, Councillor Windsor, Gary Corbett, Krista, and myself. 4 residential applications were reviewed. The action taken was to update the applicants on the status and request further information where applicable, and 1 was approved for motion tonight. 2 business development applications were reviewed. 1 is a rather large file, which will require further discussion at our next meeting or meetings. The other has some challenges as well with access to land and traffic issues and will require further investigation. We will be reaching out to the applicants accordingly. We also received an expression of interest for a quarry. And as you're all aware, we did that session with the Department of Industry, Energy and Technology on quarries, but we really haven't had a moment as a council to discuss the information we received. And we need to do that first and work on how we're going to implement that, or if we're going to implement that into the town plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be that, that information will go out to that applicant. The town plan, a draft copy was given to all of the members of the committee for review. The next step would be, we've decided to hold separate meetings outside of the regularly scheduled planning and development meetings. because I mean, it's going to be a lengthy process to review the town plan, to make sure that it falls into line with the regulations. The first piece of it is at the committee level, where we take it and pick it apart and divulge it all, and not divulge it, digest it all. And then, of course, we take it back to council. We meet with a planning consultant. Then we all have to agree. Council has to agree on what stays, what goes. And then it goes out. The draft copy goes out for public consultation. So this is not something that's going to happen in a few months. It's going to take a long time for that to happen. But we are, working towards the process.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for that meeting. We do have a couple of motions tonight. Be it resolved to table and approved is an attached permit listing that all councillors should have. It's 4 permits were issued from January 1st to the 14th, 2022. And the permit numbers are 01-0001-22 to 01-0004-22. And they include permits for signs, 2 new residences, home-based business. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford.
Second.
Councillor King.
Seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to speak a little bit on the permits, because I've been asked to kind of update the public a little bit on the process. So, when we're looking at that permit listing, of course, the public can see that. And, I'll just give an example. On January 12th, the permit number, 01001-22 for 377 Conception Bay Highway was a sign permit. So those types of permits, sign permits, general repairs like painting, putting on a deck, putting up a shed, as long as they fall within the regulations, that's done and approved by the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works. And so in most cases, that doesn't go to planning and development. Those permits are issued to fast track the process so that residents don't have to be waiting, for 6 weeks or whatever to paint or to put up a deck or to put up a fence, things like that. So when you see, and then there's another one, number 2 on our list is for 662A Conception Bay Highway. And that's new residential part 1. So when you see that new residential part 1 is the first permit that has been issued for that residential development. So that had already gone to council for a motion. And what is sent out after it is approved by council is it's a letter that's sent out, approval in principle letter. And that goes out to the applicant with it's probably a 5-page letter to say that it was approved, but you have to comply with the town development regulations, and it kind of goes through everything. So the first part of that permit is allows them to put in footings, basically, and it is it kind of helps the process. Hold on, now I'm looking at my notes here, guys. Excuse me. It kind of looks at the process of what needs to be done in phases, because I think this was something new that was brought in 2020 or 2021 by the past council, because where we don't have a municipal enforcement officer, it's really hard to keep up on, making sure that these developments move along, residential or commercial, move along in the way that it was presented to council originally. So the first permit is for completion of the footing only. And then, they have to get a certificate of location and present that to council before they get their second permit. So when they receive the second permit, that's the permit for construction of the building. So they have to do this 2-step process in order to move forward. So that's why sometimes you will see permit listings that are probably months after the motion went to council. And sometimes, sometimes that could take up to a year. Sometimes it could be extended to 2 years. So when you're hearing about these permits, they have been approved in principle by council, but the permit itself may take a few months for us to get out. So I hope that kind of clears up, the permit listing and why we do it. We really don't go through and list every single permit, because sometimes those permits listing can be quite lengthy. It could be, 20 permits or 30 permits that we're after issuing, especially, in the summertime and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for articulating that. It's certainly well explained, and certainly of a value to our residents. And who knows, when we develop the new website, which is in progress, maybe that will be considered as well. So anyway,
yes, for sure.
That information.
Yeah, so can we move through? That's it for that motion. I don't know if anyone else has any discussion or questions.
I'll just comment, Councillor Windsor. I think that was excellent, Deputy Mayor. The Deputy Mayor and I chatted last week by phone on the subject, and I think it's helpful for the residents to understand the process. And, when you don't hear discussion on every permit file, now you understand why, because it's already been passed motion, passed discussion at the committee, but we'll always seek to give some context on what the permit number is for. You'll, as residents, you'll hear more discussion, particularly on files where there's something out of the ordinary or deviance is required, a variation, something of that nature. But the more benign files we'll pass through, but they are being discussed. And I think that's important. And after our last public council meeting, indeed, a couple of residents had reached out to us with positive feedback, appreciating some of the additional information that we were providing in the discussion before the motion. So that was excellent, Michelle. Thank you for providing that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Windsor. Carry on, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so that was the motion was put forward for that permit listing.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those against? Motion carried.
Okay, the next permit we have is a residential permit. It's a residential medium density is the zoning. It's 9 Saul Drive. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the Town of Holyrood development. So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by?
Councillor
Seconded.
Buckle.
Yeah.
Repeat that.
Councillor Windsor and Councillor Buckle seconded at the same time, I think. Sorry about that.
All right, seconded by Councillor Buckle. Further discussion. And that's a straightforward development.
That has been that follows all of the regulations. The house itself is similar to other houses and everything in the area. There was not a lot of discussion required in reviewing that file.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Countermanded? Motion is carried.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And now we'll move on to recreation and community events. So will that be Curtis Buckle or Councillor Sadie King?
I'll start it off there, Mr. Gooby, Councillor Buckle.
Okay, carry on, sir.
We had our recreation and community meeting on Tuesday, January the 18th, virtual. In attendance was Mayor Gary Gooby, myself, Councillor Sadie King, and our CAO, Gary Corbett, and Director of Recreation and Community Events, Steve Martin. We talked on a few items. I'll just touch base. First of all, we are looking forward to the announcement on Thursday of the level change. As everyone know, right now all of our recreation activities are suspended at level 4, but we hope to see some activities return with the level decrease. So we're hoping that we're going to see a level decrease so that we can get some of our recreation activities and programs up and running. So we're looking forward to that on Thursday. So we hope we can see a change in the levels there. And with that being said, our Crystal Carnival, we haven't made a decision on that yet, but we do have a list of events ready to roll. But once again, we're waiting on the level change, see what the level change will be on Thursday, just go in effect next week. So we do have our list of events all scheduled to go, whether that be in person or some through virtual. But we have all that put in place. So, like I said, we're just waiting on that. The next point, student summer jobs is posted. The deadline for the applications will be Friday, March 18th. So, that has been advertised, and anyone that would like student employment here in our town this summer, we really would like them to get their applications in and have them in by Friday, March 18th. The next point is we're just putting out our dates, our Squidfest this year, and hopefully we'll get our Squidfest up and running. We did have it last year on a smaller scale, but this year we hope to get it with the levels. Everything will be work in our favor. But the Squidfest dates that we're looking at for this year for the Squidfest is July 13th to the 17th. And we just wanted to put that information out there because, if there is people that do book their holidays and come visit from other areas, come into the town for the Squidfest. So dates are July 13th to the 17th. And another point that we got, as everyone is aware, and it's a very well detailed put together. Our Summerline Park, plan. We're very, our committee is looking forward to moving ahead on that. The courts is going to be done, as we indicated earlier, part of this year's budget. But our department is trying to move that and keep it moving, whether it be through some government funding, or if we may have to look at some fundraising efforts to move that. It's very important. We did put out a while back. The previous council put out a survey for to see what people would like to see up around that area before that the whole park plan was actually put out for everyone to have a look at, which was a very impressive plan. And one of the number one ones that was come back on the survey, whether it was the splash pad. So, we got that on our radar. We, as our committee, are going to be trying to move that park plan along. Residents did see it, and a lot of people were very hyped at it, but everything comes at a cost. So we have to figure out how we can make that plan move. And our committee is going to be really pushing on that over the next little while to see how we can make that plan work. And the last thing, our department has formed a partnership with the fire department. I know the weather's back and forth. One day is in the plus 13, 14 degrees and the mild kinds of rain, and then we're down to the minus 10, minus 17. But we're working with the fire department, and if the weather allows, we're trying to maintain Boland's Pond when the conditions allow us to be able to with the fire department, flood that on at some point in the nighttime to try to get a half decent sheet of ice onto it for some recreation activity and outdoor skating for our residents. And that's it for me. And I will pass it over to Councillor King, who is the co-chair of this committee, and she has a couple of points to bring forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Sir, Councillor King.
Well, I'm just going to speak on the community garden. Mm-hmm. And right now, we're in the process of restructuring our committee. We have lost a couple of members, and we'd like to get some new members as well. New blood always makes it more successful. So we're seeking new members, and if anyone out there in the community is interested, we urge them to call the office. Contact Steve. I'm sure he'll be glad to fill you in on everything about the community garden. Last year, our community garden was a success, and a lot of residents took advantage of the boxes and did grow enough vegetables, some of them for the winter. Anyway, this year we're hoping to extend the boxes in the community garden and make it even better. And we're also, once again, going to try to get people to compost. So we're asking all our residents to consider composting, especially if they're a gardener. Because the more compost you add to soil, the better it is. Now, we've ordered 40 new composting bins. They're not here yet, but when they do arrive, it will be put on the website for everyone to see, as well as on Facebook. So the more we can compost, the less material is going to our landfill.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not just composting for the sake of composting. Composting is valuable. And the more you put in your garden, the better your garden will be. So I'm really urging people to look at composting. And if you're not familiar with composting, and we get enough people interested, maybe we can bring in somebody who will do some sessions on composting, which is another avenue we can go to for composting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my spiel on the community garden. And we have a number of people asking about our boardwalk. Why is there no work going on right now? Well, there's no work going on right now because, like everything else, we're hung up on material. The material has been ordered, but it has to come in from outside Newfoundland. So you know how deliveries are like this year. It's not only lumber and things, but everything is hard to get it across the Gulf and get it here. So that's why there's no work going ahead right now on the boardwalk. As soon as they get Buckles contract and get the material, it will start again and hopefully get to finish it. And one thing we're glad to say, there was no significant damage with the storm. We were very, very lucky there.
Yes, I was over and saw it and I looked at it and everything is intact. So that's good.
Yeah. So that's it for me on recreation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor King. Any questions or comments on recreation and community events?
Councillor Windsor, a couple of quick comments.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, really great update, Councillor Buckle and Councillor King. Appreciate that. I really like the notion that was brought forward by the committee about Boland's Pond for skating. It's just last week I noticed, I think it was Cape Royal or a couple other municipalities were doing a similar kind of thing. And I think that's a great idea and really look forward to that. And, Councillor Buckle also mentioned future projects at a recreation park, and look forward to supporting that. My son was actually after me to ask Councillor Buckle if he could get a water slide park there. And I said, well, that's not in the budget, but Councillor Buckle trying to get you a splash pad, so you have to settle for that. But I look forward to that. A great update. Appreciate the work from the Recreation Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's amazing with this climate change. A few weeks ago, there was a beautiful sheet of ice over on Boland's Pond, and, the families and children and everybody were over skating and having a game of hockey or a game of shinny, I guess they call it. And here we are now, we're into February, and not a blade of snow to be found and not a bit of ice on the pond. So it's amazing how this winter is really, really unusual. So I don't know. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Crawley here. I just wanted to say the same thing about Boland's Pond. Really exciting. And just to further Councillor King's mention about the composting, it would really help with the garbage pickup and waste management. If we start composting and encourage composting. So I'll be behind that as well as we try to minimize our waste pickup for our town.
Absolutely. Yeah, composting is where it's at, and it serves two purposes. First of all, it's the bulk of the garbage, and the more that we can reduce going out to the curbside, the better the price that we're going to get for the cost of garbage collection. And as Councillor King alluded to earlier, it's really valuable, to a garden, because you mix that in with the topsoil and it certainly enhances the quality of the product. So, composting, I think everybody's going to hear more about composting in the months ahead from us. Okay. Any other questions on recreation community events?
Yeah, Deputy Mayor Woodford here, Mayor. I do agree with Sadie about composting. I know that, as you said, it's a twofold plan for composting. It would be it serves two purposes. But the tippage fees that we're paying at Robin Hood Bay, a lot of the weight in a garbage bag comes from what we could be composting. So, I think that's a great way for us to move forward to try to reduce some of the fees that we're paying, because of course that increased I'm not sure, probably $5,000 or something from last year, from 2021 to our 2022 budget. And also with regards to Boland's Pond, just to give you an alternate source of skating, I read this article with CBC on the teacher at Holy Cross Park, the phys ed, Holy Cross School, elementary school, Andrew Martin, the phys ed teacher there, who took it upon himself, after hours, he built a 5,500 square foot skating rink up behind Holy Cross School at the playground there. And part of the program is kids go out during the day and skate on this rink. And it can hold up, I believe, to a full classroom of children. And they did say that it is open to the public after school hours, and they welcome the public and, kids of all ages to go up and enjoy the skating rink that he has there.
Deputy Mayor, sorry, I got to interject there. That was 5 years ago. It's not there now.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh,
it's
sorry.
Not there now.
I apologize. I did not look at the date. Now,
Yeah.
why? I don't know why I read that then and didn't look at the date. I apologize. Thanks, Laura.
No worries.
It's too bad somebody don't do that.
Now that I agree with.
Yeah.
To get it on the go again.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. If there's no other questions or comments on recreation and community events, we will move on to infrastructure and public works. So who's taking the lead on that?
Councillor Windsor here, Mayor. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Myself and my colleague, Councillor Sadie King, we agreed today that I'll provide the update from committee, and following that, Councillor King will comment on the pressure relief valve project, which requires a motion before council. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So buckle up. There's many files on the committee's agenda, as you know, and even more now after the weekend storm. When we committee last met January 27th, it was agreed by all members to make themselves available for more frequent meetings. I think Sadie said, we had enough on that meeting agenda for 5 hours of meetings rather than the one that we had. So we do have, it's a very busy department and portfolio. So I appreciate the commitment of all committee members to be more available so we can work the issues. So first up is the storm damage. I want to talk about that. It was a tremendous storm event on Saturday night, brought over 70 millimeters rain and a rapid snow melt runoff. And these events are always a big concern. They put a lot of stress on our infrastructure and, even more important, stress on our residents. There's not many more things that are worse than worrying about the water flooding and damaging your property coming into your basement. First thing Sunday morning, I was up and made my tour of the town. I visited with several residents. I was in basements of residents. I took notes and pictures of the problem areas, and I talked to the mayor that morning. In fact, myself and the mayor, we met in person at one site of concern. I also spoke to the director with respect to a safety issue, and I just want to commend the public works staff who were mobilized throughout the town. I saw the trucks going around, and it was really great to see. And for residents, please be patient as they work the priorities. The province has been engaged to address problems outside our jurisdictional responsibility, but are physically within the town. For example, as Councillor Sadie King mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, on Route 60 at the Big Hill there, crews are on scene today making substantial shoulder, ditch, and culvert repairs. And our director has got at least 36 work orders raised, and it'll all be prioritized and addressed. And I'm sure that number may, in fact, be climbing. But as bad as these events can be, they do give us an opportunity to see what improvements are needed and highlights the areas of concern. And I was really happy to see that some of the past improvement projects instituted by previous councils are working really well. I've seen it a lot worse in Holyrood. And after seeing the news from other municipalities, I had to say overall, Holyrood fared relatively well considering that volume of rain. Now, I know this council is keen to improve the town infrastructure, but unfortunately, it just doesn't happen overnight. And we don't have an unlimited budget, and especially without raising taxes, and that's something no one wants to do. However, we are committed to prioritizing and investing in the improvements where it makes sense and going after the funding opportunities when they come up. Now, I do have to tell you the worst damage in town was on the former cart path or the rough road section of Kennedy's Lane. And for safety reasons, that is now closed to all traffic until further notice. The committee already had a remediation plan developed for that area, with construction going to start in the spring. And all that now has to be reevaluated in order to make some recommendations for the short and long-term solutions to the drainage problem in the area that's causing problems for a number of residents, both in the immediate area and downstream onto Northside Road area. So we are aware of it and we'll continue to work it. That's the storm damage. I do have 2 or 3 other topics I'd like to address quickly, not as long as the storm update. North Arm River water testing. Council and residents might remember a special meeting council called November 26th, where we discussed the water supply expansion project to provide more safe, reliable water to our town. That was also discussed in other public meetings. So part of that upfront engineering study work is to gather and analyze water samples over a period of time. We do have 2 quotes received now on the testing requirements that are outlined by Water Resources Division of the province, and we're moving forward with that testing once the review is complete and the gas tax application is completed. So that's that. Another one is the equipment fleet, Mr. Mayor. A tender is being prepared for a new dump truck and will come to committee for review and approval when completed. The market surveillance of vendors shows long delivery time into summer, early fall of 2023. Also, 2 pickup trucks were ordered through the Provincial Procurement Agency last March 2021. The pricing of those trucks has increased since that time, but pricing is still better than the current market price. For example, 1500 series was quoted at 29,000. It's increased to 40,000, and the 3500 series quoted at 41,000 is increased to 50,000. The delivery times are unknown, but we really do need to get them in service to replace the old unreliable and costly units we have. As a matter of fact, 2 of our trucks are off the road now due to safety concerns and a faulty transmission. So the committee recommendation is to proceed with the orders, and we'll keep everybody posted on that. Lighting, that came up in the mayor's update, and I think that's really important. And at the last meeting, Councillor Buckle noted the Holyrood app is a great way for people to report streetlight outages. So I tried it out. And you know, I was really happy to see it worked. And Newfoundland Power, they made the change to an energy efficient LED light within just a few days. So that was excellent to see that. And I encourage all residents to report their light outages either on the Power website, like the mayor described, or through the Holyrood app, as Councillor Buckle has mentioned before. And I'd also like to note that staff have submitted 15 to 20 requests to Newfoundland Power in the month of January, and many of those have already been replaced. Now, I know the mayor informed me that there were some other lights noted by residents in the Valley and North Arm, and staff are doing a back check to the list that they already reported to see if they have been captured. And there's also a pole replacement campaign underway. Newfoundland Power is replacing 23 poles in different areas of the town. You probably noticed some of the older ones leaning in and things like that. So they're being replaced. That's excellent. On Tank Road, there's been some reports of water issues in that area up behind the garage, Holyrood Tire and Auto, and has actively been investigated. There was civil work done for the new tank up near the existing tank. That might have caused some drainage course problems, but there's also been observations by area residents of air in the lines. And I myself, in fact, have noticed air like bubbling to the surface and puddles there. So there's something going on. Now, I know there's 3 curb stops in the area. The town has used leak detection equipment. It can't nail down the exact or pinpoint the location, but assure the residents who've voiced their concerns that the investigation's ongoing. And last but not least, before I hand off to my colleague for the PRB project update and motion, is the ducks. I got a comment on ducks too. I'm on the Marina committee, so it's important that the duck message comes through loud and clear for everybody. And as the mayor noted, the population of Duck Colony is completely exploded, and it's become a real safety concern. I know they're cute, but it is a safety concern. There's hygiene concerns. There's slipping hazard risks with a tremendous amount of excrement in the area, in addition to the concerns about the avian flu. And none of that's detected yet, so I don't want to alarm anyone. Staff have been talking to Canadian Wildlife Service, and as the mayor said, their professional advice from these individuals at Wildlife is to educate people, inform them not to feed them. The ducks will naturally disperse. They'll find their own food, which is much more healthy for them anyway. So don't feed the ducks. And if you see a duck that looks sick or is acting strange, report it. And I think our social media is going to have a campaign there. It has the information phone number of Wildlife Services located in Paddy's Pond. So I just wanted to get that in there as well. So thank you for your patience, Councillor and Mr. Mayor. I know that was a little bit longer than usual. I could probably go on longer on the storm in particular. I mean, I've submitted a detailed report to all the council. And like I said earlier, we're working the issues. And once again, glad it wasn't worse. And we are addressing the issues. And please be patient as our staff does it. And thanks again to our public works staff for looking out for us and addressing these matters. Thank you. Now I'm going to hand it to Councillor Sadie King to give an update on the PRV project in motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Windsor. A lot of items there, and it was well explained. And I certainly have nothing to add to that because you've captured it all. Good job. Okay, now we'll turn it over to Councillor Sadie King.
Well, I'm just going to mention the PRV valve that we were going to put in down at the corner of Northside Road. We had already given approval at our meeting to one of our meetings to have this installed. And this was going to alleviate some of the pressure on the water lines on the north side. And by doing that, you help also to avoid leaks. So as Councillor Windsor said at our last meeting, the tender has come in with a higher price tag than it is anticipated. The funding for this program has been reclaimed from a previous project, but the amount that was left over from that project doesn't exactly cover the full installation of the valve. The bid came in at $197,840.25, thus leaving us with a shortfall of $46,935.35. As this piece of infrastructure is so necessary for our water system, we are asking Council to approve awarding the tender to Weirs for the price indicated, with the town covering the shortfall. And that's what's going to be in the motion, which I'm going to read now and ask for approval for. And if the motion is approved, then this project will start this spring. So the motion reads, be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood award the water main upgrades for the PRV valve project to Weirs Construction for an amount of $197,840.25 based on the tender results dated January the 5th, 2022. This amount reflects the lowest of 6 bids received in response to the tender call by Innovative Engineering on behalf of the town. The Town of Holyrood recognizes that due to the present market conditions, the cost of the work creates a $46,939.36 shortfall in the approval funding. Given the importance of this piece of work in the overall delivery of water service to residents in the area, the Town of Holyrood will absorb the overrun through its fiscal services budget for 2022. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Sadie King. Could I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Windsor. And I'll just a few comments to back up my...
Okay, carry on, Councillor Windsor.
Before we get into discussion from other councillors, I just wanted to jump in quickly and support my co-councillor Sadie King. Excellent description there, and fully support that. And it is so important just to remind residents, the pressure that you should normally see come in your house, that's 50 to 70 psi, right? So what has happened in those areas that has had the piping failures, that's getting as high as 160 psi, right? That causes piping failure. It causes higher maintenance costs. It causes loss of water service to residents. It's just not sustainable to keep doing what we're doing without doing these improvements, right? So that's been well discussed and documented here, the purpose of the project and on the pricing. we did review the bids and challenge a few things at committee. We did, but it's not surprising. And just to assure council and residents, look, we're all seeing it everywhere, whether it's on our grocery shelves or the prices of things are getting more expensive. That's reality. But I'll also tell you, in my line of work right now, I'm actually procuring quite a number of valves for another project, unrelated to the Town of Holyrood, obviously. But the prices of valves have skyrocketed. Goes right back to the raw materials being mined in the foundries and in the manufacturing. So, and all this goes back to COVID, right? So those are some of the market global supply chain reasons for the cost overrun. And it is what it is, unfortunately. That's it for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Any other questions or comments?
Councillor Buckle?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think this is a project, the previous council was trying to was working on this with Innovative, and we're glad to see it come here tonight for the motion. And I think, yes, the price increased, as Councillor Windsor indicated, the price with COVID, price of fuel makes everything increase, as we all know that, even from the supermarket to everything, the price of diesel. But I think, this project is great. As Councillor Windsor said and Councillor King, with the pressure and stuff there, if we're getting a leak on North Side Road with that high pressure, we're losing a lot of water out of our tank, and it has caused a lot of trouble over the years. So I think with this valve is going to help reduce the pressure there, and if we're not going to get leaks. Hopefully, we won't get as many leaks, and if we do get a leak, we're not going to have the pressure pushing out so much water in that area, because the pressure will be reduced with that valve. So I think this is a great project, and I think it's nice to see it here tonight before council for a motion. And I'd like to say a big thank you to the Public Works Committee for bringing this motion forward here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Buckle. And I too support the motion. I think this project is long overdue. I have spoken with several residents over around the North Side area. In fact, there was one there just last week where he had a leak in his line. And there's a lady just a little ways up the road from him, and she's experienced several leaks. So as Councillor Windsor said, when you've got tremendous water pressure on that line, and of course the lines going into the home are down to 3/4 inch, and some of them lines have been there for a while. So when you got an exorbitant amount of pressure on those lines, it just can't hold it. Eventually, they are going to have leaks. So I'm sure that the residents over in that area will certainly appreciate this project done and have the pressure reduced, and that should help mitigate any future problems that they should experience. As well, the longer that we wait on doing such projects, because this is an extremely important one, the prices are going to continue to rise. So if it's not done now at this cost, I understand that there is a shortfall there, of $40,000 odd, what's it, $46,000 and change. But it's there, we have it, we can absorb that within corporate services, within our budget. And so I have no hesitation in supporting this project. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, just one quick point for you, Councillor, the motion. There's Councillor Buckle. Just to let the residents know too, as Councillor King indicated, this was money that was found from what I can gather, left from other projects that we found. So that that amount that's being put forward there outside the town share of what we're putting in is money that was found left from other projects. So that's a great thing that we did find that money and be able to put it towards this project. Yeah,
it's reprofile monies from 2016. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, the motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councillor King. Is there any other items here under infrastructure and public work?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, all right.
Not tonight, sir, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned. It's a busy department, I have to say. Okay, business development and marketing. I've done enough talking tonight, so I'm going to hand it over to the Deputy Mayor to give an update on that committee.
Good evening, everyone, again. Our committee met on January 26th. And during that time, we looked at 5 business files that were discussed. And our director, Marjorie Gibbons, is working with these business applicants to get their applications moving forward. It's not a process that can happen overnight. It's probably we're back and forth with some of these applications for a few months for now, trying to move things through. And people are still really interested in development in Holyrood. It's just some issues that arise that we identify and then go back to them and see if they're still willing to move forward, or if they come up with some alternate course of action. We do have one thing we're going to bring forward tonight is an international student that is here studying under the Provincial Study and Stay program. They are graduating from MUN in April, and they are looking to set up a business here in Holyrood and looking for some space at Beachhead. So Marjorie's going to be working with this student. They're hoping to take the office over in April, one of the offices at the Beachhead, and I think it's underwater research and development business that the student is starting, and hopefully we'll be working in conjunction with Marine Institute in the future. So that's some good news there. Oceania, we discussed this before at a public meeting and with council as well. There were 2 proposals that were received for Oceania, and we met on January 14th to open up those proposals. One proposal didn't meet the terms of the RFP, so it wasn't even considered for evaluation. The other proposal, it was several competent, experienced groups of companies that collaborated on the proposal. But in reviewing the information that was there, we felt that it needed to be expanded upon. It identified the parameters in the RFP, but it didn't really give enough information. So we have gone back to those proponents and requested a meeting. And we're hoping to get a meeting with them sometime this month to get some clarity of information with regards to the proposal that they submitted. And then we do have our wayfinding before we get into a motion, because we do have a motion tonight. But our wayfinding project, it's a signage project, and we talked about this before, that Tract Consulting did for the town and did for a lot of municipalities, a group of municipalities. And what the phase that we're in right now is we're looking at the assets that were identified in that project. And we're just making sure that the proper assets were identified. Are we keeping everything that we identified? Are we not? So councillors have been asked. I think you all should have received an email from Marjorie asking for have a look at the assets and just to make sure that we're including everything. And I think that she's looking at having that back, if you guys don't have it back to her, by tomorrow, because we need to get that back to Tract Consulting and kind of move forward on that project, because this is the time for funding programs that come out, and we would try to get that included in some funding program. Do you have anything, Mayor Gooby, to add before I do the motion?
No, I think that you've pretty well covered everything that we agreed to discuss. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a motion tonight, and just to give you some information before I read the motion, part of OHI, of course, or marketing OHI would be sponsorship with NOIA, and which is Newfoundland Oil and Gas Association. And, we have identified under the Oceans Holyrood initiative that it's a way forward for sustainability in Holyrood. So, partnering with these key groups is a way for us to be able to place ourselves in with these groups, that so we can say, yes, we're part of this. This is our knowledge base. This is how we get our information out to people that are interested in coming and being part of Oceans Holyrood. So the sponsorship that we're looking for with NOIA is a marketing strategy, and we're looking for some funding, some money there, or I guess the motion really, to be able to come up with $1,800 is what it will cost us for this sponsorship with NOIA. There is a credit there because we were supposed to do a conference in 2019. We had paid so much money towards that, and of course that didn't go through because of COVID. So this could be put towards the cost of the sponsorship. So the motion that we have tonight, I'll go ahead and read it unless anyone has any discussion, or we can discuss it after. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve Oceans Holyrood sponsorship with NOIA, Newfoundland Oil and Gas Association, for the year 2022. This sponsorship enables the town to foster further development in ocean-related activities here in Holyrood through the marketing channels of NOIA. The cost is $5,000. Since OHI has a credit of $3,200 due to a canceled 2019 conference booth, the actual new expenditure will be $1,800. This cost is an eligible expense through the OHI funding already available through ACOA and the province. A NOIA sponsorship is a direct marketing opportunity that is funneled directly to our key demographic. The advantage of a NOIA sponsorship and the opportunities inherent to them is that there are no spillovers or wasted opportunity. We are speaking directly to our businesses that have the ability to make the investments in our town through the ocean sector. It is the very definition of direct marketing, and considering the cost of the sponsorship program, coupled with the marketing opportunities, we recognize the value of this investment through OHI. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by
Councillor
second
King.
Okay, I'm hearing three responses at one time.
Councillor Windsor.
Councillor Windsor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, any comments, questions on that motion?
Councillor Crawley here. Just had a question. Sorry, because I only reviewed the minutes late. The $1,800 overfall, you said came from an OHI budget already? Is that correct?
It came from, we're looking for $1,800. The cost is $5,000. There's a $3,200 credit there, but it's in the OHI. It's not coming out of any funding within the town. It's OHI funding.
Okay, and that's what I was wondering, because it wasn't in the budget, so we don't have it.
No, it's under the OHI funding, and it's been approved through ACOA and things like that.
Okay. All right. No, that's the only question I had.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yes, comment. Councillor Windsor here. I think it's a great initiative, and as you point out there, it's there's no municipal taxpayer expense here. It's a wise investment. It's a robust and sophisticated industry association with a lot of interesting projects on the go, particularly from last year's industry recovery fund. The federal government and the provincial government participated in a lot of funding opportunities for these organizations to allow them to survive the industry downturn, right? And some of that is also focused on climate change, right? And allowing these energy companies to reinvent themselves and find ways to be more efficient and reduce their carbon footprint. So for me, it solves a few things. It's a win-win. So I fully support it. Well done.
Okay, certainly agree. Any other questions or comments before we vote on the motion?
Councillor Buckle here, just a quick comment. I fully support it. I think it's a great motion. It'll, it means a lot for Holyrood and the spin-offs. And, we're trying to make Holyrood, with the Marine Institute and OHI. I think this is a very, very well motion to move forward. And I'd like to say thank you to the committee for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And yes, Councillor Windsor, I think summed it all up. It is definitely a win-win situation. We are going to be very much partnering and collaborating with the Marine Institute, or the launch as it's called, branded now. And of course, NOIA will certainly play a role in that as well. So, for us to be connected with the oil industry, as well as all other facets related to ocean science and technology, whatnot, all this collectively is what will build our community. And, so, this is a really good, it's money well invested. And like I said, it's a win-win for the town on a go-forward basis. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Motion is carried. Okay, any other points, Deputy Mayor?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to public safety. Who's taking the lead on that tonight? Councillor Bruce King or Councillor Buckle?
I will take the lead, and then I will turn it over to Councillor Buckle if he has anything else he would like to add.
Okay,
Anyway, good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and of course, the hundreds of residents that are listening and watching at home. Just a few points with regards to public safety. The first one being, there will be a meeting on the 10th of February at 5:30 with the RCMP to discuss, and that will include all members of council, all those that can attend. And we will be discussing any items with regards to traffic, vandalism, or any other criminal activity that's ongoing or has been ongoing in the past in the area of Holyrood. And at this time, I would invite residents, if they have concerns or questions to put to the RCMP, that if they would go in online to the town website, they can send them to me, and I will ensure that their questions will be answered or at least presented to the RCMP for answers. Anyway, as Councillor Windsor and other members of council have discussed, we had quite the event in the past weekend. I mean, I know if it kept on raining, I was digging through plans for an ark. So, these things are, these types of storms seem to be happening more frequently and more severe. If you ask somebody, that we would have 70 plus millimeters of rain, the end of January, they would probably cart you off somewhere downtown. So anyway, from a safety and a public safety point, people need to be aware that these things are going to happen, and they're probably going to happen more often. And you should be looking into your own safety plan, your own personal items that you have in your home, because when these storms happen, whether it's a major rain event or it's a major snowstorm, like we go back to Snowmageddon, first responders and different people, they're not going to be able to come to your door right away. We know that during Snowmageddon, it took a long spell before things got back to normal. So people need to be prepared for at least, and they use this online here, at least for 72 hours. And if you go onto the Newfoundland and Labrador Fire and Emergency Services site, or you go onto Google and just Google emergency preparedness kit, they give you all kinds of different items that you should have in your possession, because we all have gone through snowstorms, and we've all seen, the lineups at the hardware store looking for shovels, looking for a snowblower, looking for, fuel. Well, we should have that before the storm comes, not after, right? So, we should have things like a generator, or a snowblower, or at least a shovel. Something that came in handy this weekend, and I'm sure there was lots of other people, a sump pump. Having a sump pump this weekend in some homes could have been the difference between a major flood and not having a flood at all. So, these are the items: batteries and fuel. No good to have a generator without fuel. Food, a non-perishable food, medication. So if you know that there's a storm coming, and it's a severe storm, because the rain that we had this weekend could have very easily been, 40 to 50 centimeters of snow. So we need to make sure that we're prepared, and we also need to take responsibility for our own well-being and our own safety, right? So, and things like, and I did this, and this is just fluke for me. So this wasn't something that I went out last week and I cleaned all the leaves out of the ditch and the culvert in front of my house, right? That prevented a lot of water buildup. And when I went out the next morning, the water was still draining, and it was draining, it was draining well. Another thing that people should take into consideration, I know it's hard to take into consideration right now when you look out the window and all you can see is your lawn, but in a lot of communities, a fire hydrant, for example, next to your house. If you have a fire hydrant, don't if you walk in your driveway or drive in your driveway and you can't even see the top of that fire hydrant, you should take it upon yourself to go out and spend 10 minutes shoveling that fire hydrant out. And I'm sure, the fire chief can attest to it, and the mayor as well, being a firefighter. The time that it takes, the fire department to dig out the fire hydrant could mean the difference between somebody dying in the house or your house burning to the ground. So, if you have a fire hydrant out there, if we do get a lot of snow, take a few minutes to go out with the shovel. It's great exercise. Dig it out, so when the fire department does have to come, and it's ready to go. So it could save minutes, and it could save someone's life as well. The other one I want to mention is the fact that I would like to thank Transportation and Public Works for going around and filling in the potholes. And like the mayor said, we're becoming a quilt here now with patch. But I guess the other thing is, it's better to have patches than holes, right? Because the patches will keep people's vehicles from being damaged and cause serious injury, or even somebody being killed. So I do thank Transportation and Works for being so quick on filling in the holes, and also go to the residents and to keep informing everybody where the potholes are through social media, because those things as well, people getting online and talking about where the potholes were the last time probably saved a lot of money in repair costs for people's vehicles. And like I said, report it to Transportation and Works, report it to council, report it to your MHA. And like I said before, if you see something, say something. Anyway, at this time, I would like to turn it over to Councillor Buckle to see if he has anything that he would like to add as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor King. Some very, very good points that you raised there. Thank you. Councillor Buckle.
Yeah, just, I echo my colleague there, Councillor King, some good topics he brought up there tonight and discussed. And I was going to talk about the meeting we had with the RCMP, but Councillor King already brought that up, But, there's a lot of things there. And as he indicated, being ready for a storm is always the way, better off to be ready than not be ready. So, it could help you in the long run. So that's it for me. I just said, he made some good points there. And we got our next committee meeting now actually on Friday. So we look forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Do anybody have any further questions or comments on public safety? Okay, if not, we will move on to corporate services and administration. So who's going to pay the bills, Councillor Crowley or Councillor King?
I think that's me. Is it, Councillor King?
Councillor Crowley better pay the bills because I'm broke.
Come to the wrong spot here. Okay, so just an update that we had to postpone our meeting. It was scheduled for this past Thursday, but unfortunately, due to other commitments, leave of absence, bereavement, leave, etc., we had to postpone that. But we did task out various committee members or committees that they should still be in the process of reviewing our strategic plan, our operating policy and procedures, and making sure to take any notes so that when we do come to a committee of the whole about those plans, they're prepared to set their priorities. And town staff are still working on a donation policy and a vending policy. So that was the only updates from that, as we didn't meet. But there is a motion that we have to put forward, and that's to pay the bills, as it were. So the bills that are being paid, or the checks that are being paid out now, is mostly it's things like salary, equipment, training, stipends, things like that. So it's be it resolved that the accounts tabled in the amount of $166,763.45. That would be check numbers D0000002338 to D0000002373 and 042876 to 042938 be approved for payment. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Crowley. Could I have a seconder, please?
Deputy
Councillor
Mayor.
King?
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? If not, all those in favour?
Aye.
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 Contramanded? Motion carried.
Okay. And the last thing there is our bank book balance now sits at $856.32. So we're looking forward to some of those tax payments coming in again. Kind of keep us above board there.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Crowley. And now you are going to move on to the communications update. Would you like to provide a report on that, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So we had our first communications meeting on January 25th. And in attendance was myself and Deputy Mayor Michelle Woodford, Councillor Sadie King, Recreation Director Steve Martin, and Business Development Director Marjorie Gibbons. Regrets were Krista Turnbull, Executive Assistant Mayor Gooby, and CAO Gary Corbett. We discussed a number of things. The first thing we really had to discuss was how we were going to structure the communication meetings. Previous council had a different communication committee. So there's some of us new there, and we talked about our roles, our responsibilities. We declared that I, Councillor Crowley, will be the chair. And so some of the things we started to discuss was that with our website upgrade, and this has been well underway now. And funny enough, I've had some inquiries about how come some links aren't working on our current page, but that's because we're in the process of this upgrade and switch over. So this will be coming back to our committee, the next meeting, hopefully, that the website will be ready to be reviewed. And I'm happy to be able to announce that this is more of a service-based website. So it'll be payments. They'll be able to submit inquiries, questions, things like that. It's going to be much more user-friendly, much more conducive to a town website. And someone was looking for our bios for our councillors, and that will and mayors will also have all of that up there, so that'll all be clickable. So if residents can bear with us, we are in the process of switching over, and our hope is that it will be more service-based and user-friendly when that happens. We also talked about the structure and consistency of our minutes within our committees, and making sure that they're available to all prior to meetings so we can have time to review and chat about it. And that will actually bring to the table a more consistent structure. And with the more consistent structure, we will be able to hopefully public meeting, post a committee meeting minutes or a report to the website so residents have access to it all and they don't have to hear everything all the time. They can read it. So a lot of times then we can say refer to the report, and more information will be available for our residents, which goes back to our communications plan. So our communication plan, it's very extensive right now. And this was actually not the communication plan, but the plan for the communication plan. And what we asked is each of our the committee members to have a read over the plan, come back with the top 5 priorities of what we think would, we should tackle first, because there are terms of reference, there's communication means, there's internal, there's external communications. So the idea is that we will come back and prioritize that. So our next meeting was scheduled for February 7th, I think it is. And that's a basic update there. We don't have any motions or anything to put forward, but we're excited to get started and increase our transparency with our residents.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crawley. And obviously, the committee's off to a great and very positive start. Good stuff. Okay, with that said, is there any questions or comments on the communications plan? Okay, if not, we'll move into new business, and I'll do the go around, starting with the Deputy Mayor.
No, I really don't have anything new to bring up. I just want to apologize to the public once again for the misinformation earlier, and thank Councillor Crawley for correcting me on that. Normally I fact check and make sure that I do my due diligence, but didn't do it on that one. Lesson learned. So I apologize for that. And the other thing that I did have was there is a vaccination clinic. I did fact check this, by the way. Vaccination clinic at the Legion in Holyrood on February 21st from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you're looking for your booster shot, please visit the Legion February 21st from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that information. And now we'll move on to Councillor Crawley again.
Yes, hi, thank you. No worries, Deputy Mayor. I keep replaying in my head the Sesame Street. Everyone makes mistakes, so why can't you? So
thank you.
Don't worry about it. We all do it. I make sure to make mistakes in my classes so kids can point out that everyone makes mistakes.
There you go.
I just want to send a thank you to Public Works and Services, because we're all home cuddled in our houses and they're out fighting a good fight for us and checking out what's happening and what kind of damage is done during the storm. So we do appreciate it, and we see the work that you're putting in. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Crawley. And now I'll move on to Councillor Bruce King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do have one point to bring up for new business, and that will be National Heritage Week, which is the week of February 21st to the 27th. And it's an opportunity for Canadians to celebrate their museums, their historical sites, their cultural landscapes, cultural centers, etc. And Heritage Newfoundland is encouraging all municipalities in the province to highlight their heritage. And of course, we have more than enough heritage here in Holyrood. So for that week, which is like I said, February 21st to the 27th, we're going to have your worship to sign the proclamation at the museum on the 21st. This is all, everything that I'm going to mention today all hinges on the alert levels with regards to the pandemic. But these are just a few of the ideas that we're looking at, and Linda and her fantastic team over at the museum are going to put all this into high gear. We're looking at signing the proclamation over at the museum. We're also looking at the two oldest citizens of Holyrood, the oldest man and the oldest woman, to also be in attendance if it's all possible. We're going to have a cake. And of course, because of COVID, we're not going to be able to blow the candles out, but we're going to use a snuffer. They have other days like the tour of the museum, and free that particular week for seniors. And hopefully we'll be able to get some media coverage as well once we do the presentation. So anyway, there's some of the things that we're looking at. We will be doing a proclamation to mark National Heritage Week. So as the details unfold, I will make sure that everybody is aware of what's going to happen. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor King. And now I'll move on to the other Councillor King, Councillor Sadie King.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Robert and the public works staff for their due diligence in keeping our community, our residents safe during this terrible weekend. They had a lot of work on their plate, believe you me. So thank you so much. That's it for me.
Here, certainly agree. Thank you. And Councillor Windsor, you can wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, something a little bit different for me tonight, and not really related to municipal politics or anything like that. But I learned some very sad news today. A very close personal friend of mine, Christopher Abbott. I knew him as Abbo, and all you probably knew him as Buddy the Puffin. He passed away. So he was a very good friend of mine. We knew each other from rowing at Kitty Lake, carrying on at the stadium, and all sort of things in between. And, you know, he brought a lot of smiles and a lot of laughs to a lot of people. And, you know, I think about community service, and community service takes a lot of forms, right? And you know, we are here on council, and we have staff, we have first responders, and Chris had a way about him. And, you know, he never ever turned down an opportunity to go to a school or go to the Janeway, to really give back to people and give them a moment of reprieve or laughter or pleasure, you know, and just saying, you know, people might not remember what you say, they might not remember what you do, but they remember how you made them feel. And,
exactly.
and he made a lot of people feel really good. So I just wanted to comment on that and honor his memory by sharing that with you. The loss of my friend and the whole province has lost a special person. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Windsor. And we certainly, that is sad news to hear. And on behalf of council and staff and all the residents, we want to pass on our sincere condolences to his family at this very difficult time. Okay, the date of the next meeting will be
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Buckle.
you leave me out tonight. Anyway, just a couple of quick points. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to the public works staff and the director. You know what I mean? Just to look around the town since the weekend and see the amount of work and you know what I mean, fixing up shoulders that has been done over the last couple of days. I'd like to say a big thank you to our public works staff on a great job on what they got done, and I'm sure they still got lots more to do. But you know what I mean, quick response on a lot of washouts around the town on the town roads. I'd just like to touch base on, as Councillor Windsor said earlier, on the street lights. You know what I mean? I did have a few people report them on the app, and they were replaced and looked after in a timely manner. So it was nice to see that is working so well. And with the longer evenings coming now, more people out walking and stuff. So I suggest anyone that sees a light out to either report it on the app or if they want, they can reach out to the town, and we can the town can look after getting the poll number and getting that replaced. And the only other thing I'd like to say is congratulations to yourself, Mr. Mayor, on your retirement from the St. John's Regional Fire Department after your years of service. Thank you for your service, and I'd like to say congratulations on your retirement and your future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Buckle. I certainly appreciate those kind comments. And again, my apologies for that oversight. Okay, the date of the next meeting will be February 22nd at 5:30 p.m. And can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Councillor Buckle.
Moved by Councillor Buckle and seconded by Councillor Sadie King. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. Good evening and stay safe.